Good evening, listeners. Oh, it's raining, honey. It's sounding real good. I hope it don't sound too loud in this video, but I just wanted to let y'all know this is not as easy as one would think. Anyhow, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, the notification bell, so that you know when I upload new videos, and subscribe to the channel, it would greatly be appreciated. And without further ado, Chapter 11, Video Girl. By this time, I had known most of the employees at Def Jam Records and had visited their offices on Sunset Boulevard, which was perched on the top floor of the Hustler building. A girlfriend of mine and I had gone to an LL Cool J video shoot in order to meet with one of Def Jam's employees. Within seconds, my eyes landed on the person we were there to meet. We sat and talked for a few moments before another man came over and introduced himself to me. "Hey, I'm Hype," he said casually. "What are you doing next week?" I was taken aback. Wasn't quite sure who he was, yet I answered, "Nothing." He continued, "Okay, cool. Take my number and call me. You're going to be in my next video. Get a 10. Then I realized this was famed music video director Hype Williams. It would be my first video, and the following weekend I was on the set of Jay-Z's video for his single, Hey Papi. Days before arriving on the set, I called Chuck to let him know that I would be working on the video. Chuck and Jay had been good friends for years, and I wanted Jay to know that I was coming. By this time, Chuck and I were closer than ever and continued to claim each other as cousins, though we weren't blood relatives. Sorry, y'all. So Chuck made the call to be sure that once on set, I would be taken care of. Call time was early, around 6 in the morning. We were on location at Zuma Beach in Malibu, and all the talent had convened in the hair and makeup trailers to begin the long preparation process. I was a bundle of nerves, but tried my best to maintain cool among the other girls. My heart raced, and I was excited to get up to the house where we would be working. I was anxious to meet Jay and introduce myself to him, since I was also a fan of his music. Finally, the moment arrived. We were shuttled up a winding hill to a palatial mansion overlooking Zuma. This was my first time in a house this size and in Malibu. This was also the first time Jay and I would speak. As soon as we unloaded from the van, I saw Jay standing poolside in front of Hype and his camera. I quickly made my way over to introduce myself. "Hey, I'm Yazette," he said. I said, "Chuck's people." "Yeah," he said. "What's up? Chuck told me you were coming. Come on, you stand by me all day today." And that was it. For the rest of the day, I stood as close as possible to Jay. I became acquainted with his entourage, as well as with his partner, Damon Dash. The performer in me was evident throughout the day, as I did the most outrageous things possible, like wearing an ultra-skimpy string thong bikini, while the other girls proudly sported modest full-back bikinis and one-piece bathing suits. The atmosphere became tense between me and the other girls almost instantly. The majority of the girls on the video shoots are reserved and are there strictly to do their jobs. As a silent rule, the featured girls never fraternized with the artist, and in many cases actually looked down their noses at the artist. They walked with their heads high, rolling their eyes and sucking their teeth as the artist, and mostly the entourage tried to catch the girls' attention. I seemed to be the only one being chummy with Jay, Damon, and the others. I was in my element. These people were acquaintances of Chuck, and we were aware that I was G. Rap's ex and the mother of his youngest child. Jay took care of me all that day and making sure I was good, exposure and everything else I needed. The day went well, although it started off unpleasantly for some. By 9 o'clock that morning, Damon Dash had already been drinking. He emerged from the pool house with a bottle of Belvedere vodka in his right hand. He was staggering as he walked alongside the pool where we were shooting. I watched intently, mainly waiting for him to fall into the pool, but he did not. Instead, he fell about 7 feet away from the pool and lay flat on his back with his arms and legs outstretched, vodka still in hand. "Damon, are you all right?" I went over to him. "Damon?" He gave no answer. I straddled his body while on all fours, leaning my face close to his. To the left of us was a photographer, Arnold Turner, snapping away with his camera. Finally, Damon stuttered, "Yeah, I'm cool." Jay then motioned for someone to get Damon off the ground and off the set. Shooting of the video was halted while Damon got himself together. That was my first introduction to Damon Dash. Years later, he would play a substantial role in changing my life. Jay and I forged a solid rapport that day, which would continue for years to come. I felt comfortable around him and felt that it was all right for me to accept his invitation to take a ride with him down from the house and onto the beach. We hopped in the back of his chauffeur-driven Mercedes S55 and took the winding road back to the shore of the Zuma Beach. Excuse me, y'all, I done talked my throat dry. He asked if I was doing all right on my first day and briefly asked me about my relationship with G. We continued to talk for a while until his driver parked on the beach and exited the vehicle. After a few moments of silence, Jay pulled out his penis, covered it with a condom, and placed his hand on the back of my head. I was being a good girl, thanking him and proving my worthiness and kindness he had shown. I was doing what I had been taught. We carried on in the car for a while and headed back to the set as if nothing had happened, and every once in a while he shared a glance and a half of a smile. Jay and I would remain acquaintances over the next few years as he evolved into one of the most successful and influential players in not only hip-hop but in pop culture. We bumped into each other on other video shoots, at events, and at private gatherings. Unlike some of the others, there were no games, no long phone conversations, and no dates. Jay made his professions of love for me. He made no professions of love for me, nor did he make any promises. It was all straightforward. It was what it was, nothing more. Since that day in the car, he remained a gentleman, and it seems as if nothing had ever happened between us. And in one way, nothing had. After my initial introduction into the world of hip-hop video making, it was full steam ahead. I began getting calls from the top casting directors in town at least once a week. I rarely had to audition for videos and would be hired strictly by past performances or by request from the artist. The next video I was up for came 1 week after shooting Hey Papi. This shoot would prove to be more challenging than the one before because this one was for Ja Rule's single Between Me and You. He and I had not spoken since our relationship with Sour. I was pretty sure I would not be allowed to stay on set once he saw me, but I did all I could to remain. When I got to the mansion overlooking Malibu, I found I was one of the first to arrive. There were very few girls and no signs of the crew or the video director Dave Myers. I put my things in the pool house, which was set up as a base camp for the girls, and quickly used this time to work on my already glowing tan from the week before. Wardrobe gave me a white bikini to wear. I took my spot in the sun and lay on my stomach on the closest lounge chair. Without a second thought, I undid the top portion of my suit and proceeded to sunbathe without it. As more girls began to arrive on set, along with the label representatives and crew, I could hear the dull roar of whispering. The other girls were appalled, and the men were shocked, but definitely not upset by my nudity in any way. I knew that there had to be something different about me in order to catch the attention of Dave Myers. It's always a good idea to become the director's favorite and be able to bypass the whole auditioning process and make more money than other girls in the long run. I had a plan in mind and put its wheels in motion. I had been on set topless for about an hour when the director arrived. The cameraman and crew were all set up for the first shot of the day. Upon seeing my old naked breasts glistening in the sun, Dave Myers grabbed his camera and began to film. It was film magic as I gave Dave what he wanted, just as just the art of it excited me, and knowing that all the other women hated it heightened my excitement, made me want more of this sort of attention. I never really had girlfriends, so the idea of not getting along with the other girls on the set was not a deterrent for me. There was always someone trying to compete with me and trying to eliminate me. It started with my mother and continued throughout my adult life. On this particular video shoot, there was another woman who thought she could compete with me. I met her in New York, where she worked alongside Irv Gotti, the CEO of Murder Inc., and I knew from Irv that she and he had been involved. Once Keisha saw that I was on the set of Between Me and You, she called Irv and he made his way to the set to tell me I had to leave. He said there was a rumor that I had a plan to have him and Josh set up to be robbed. The accusation floored me and were totally unfounded. I begged him to believe me and let me stay. Irv grabbed me by the arm and escorted me into his SUV and drove me down the hill to a row of trailers that sat in a sandy patch of land. I began to cry. I didn't want him or Ja especially to believe that I would have done such a thing. The truth was that when I was with Ja, I was with Murder Inc. I felt as if I was a part of them. I had a different kind of love for Ja that I will always carry with me. And I didn't want him to think I would turn on him. I told Gotti that I would do anything to be able to say I would do anything for him to believe me. I told him how much I loved all of them and considered them friends and would never plot against them. If you really mean what you say, then show me, he said, clearly aroused. Unfortunately, this was a familiar scene to me, and there in the trailer, I apologized to him for anything I might have done, and even for things I had not, and he forgave me. After my apology to Gotti, we returned to the set together. He let Ja, Keisha, and everyone know that it was cool for me to stay and that the entire situation had been a misunderstanding. I was back in, and no matter what it cost me, namely my dignity and my self-respect, happy to be there. It was evident to me that Keisha thought of me as being less than her. in it, in her mind, I could easily be discarded, as no doubt many girls had been before. However, on that day, her seniority over me was overridden. From that day on, Keisha and I would have a silent feud. Not only did she not replace me on the video set, but I replaced her as Gotti's lover. It's funny how back then our disdain for each other seemed important and just, but in retrospect, we weren't that different at all. We were both smart women who deserved so much more than feuding about who stayed on a video shoot and who got priority in Gotti's bed. The rest of the video went off without a hitch. Ja and I reserved our past issue and even posed for pictures together while I unbraided his hair in the jacuzzi. I was back with the ink by the end of the shoot. I was sure that I had gained a few enemies in the other girls, but I also gained a friend in Dave Myers who looked out for me professionally. Hold on, I done talked my throat dry. The next few videos would be strictly for Dave Myers, but soon I found myself working with many other prominent directors and artists in the business. The next high-profile video I would appear in was Mystikal's Danger, directed by Little X. The single was the much-awaited follow-up to the mega hit Shake Your Ass. By this time, I figured out that the only videos to go out for were those that would get regular daytime spins on MTV and BET. Being with G had taught me a lot about the music industry and the economics of it. At this time, the budget for videos was massive, making many reaching into the millions. The more popular the artist became, the more radio spins he had, the more MTV and BET spins, the more likely he was to be in the top 10 on billboards. Once an artist reached that type of status, even with just one previous singles, the budgets became so substantial, and I would do the most outrageous things possible to be in those kinds of videos. Whatever the other girls wouldn't wear, I would wear. Whatever the other girls wouldn't do, I was up for. I knew such behavior would increase my worth as a performer, and therefore I would be able to command more money above and below the table, while pleasing both the artist and the label alike. On this particular shoot, the conditions were harsh. I can't recall the exact time of year, but it was still chilly in Los Angeles, and even colder 50 miles north of Los Angeles in the desert, which is where we were filming. The location was a Western saloon that stood literally in the middle of nowhere. The dusty road that led to the location was barren, except for the occasional roadkill, which in this neck of the desert consisted mostly of wild boars and armadillos. It was about 40 degrees and the wind was whipping sand around at about 15 miles an hour. We were all miserable. However, I had a job to do. When it came time to choose our wardrobe, the stylist had been asking a few girls if they were willing to wear pasties with their Western-inspired outfits and boots. Every girl refused. I was one of the last girls to get dressed. I had been busy speaking with Mystikal, who I had met months earlier, like at L'Ermitage in Beverly Hills. By this time, he and I had been closely acquainted and had spent many days and nights together around town. So by the time I got to the wardrobe trailer, there were very few items left in it, and nothing that could be deemed shocking, which is what I was looking for. Then the stylist asked the question, "What do you think about these?" In her hands lay two gold star pasties. I stalled for a moment to think of the ramifications of wearing gold stars over my nipples. Minutes later, with the scent of eureka in the air, I smiled. I loved them. I covered myself with the long plush white robe that I had gotten from L'Hermitage so the other girls wouldn't see my outfit I was wearing before filming. I waited around for hours and even fell asleep while waiting for my scenes. Then finally, the reveal. I could sense the overwhelming tension in the room as I dropped my bathrobe and hopped on top of the table to dance. The other girls, as usual, were both shocked and appalled, maybe even a little disgusted. But once Mystical got onto the set and saw my outfit, he gave me his stamp of approval. Not only was I wearing the gold star pasties, but also chaps with only an ostrich skin thong underneath, so my rear was fully exposed. If shocking was what I was going for, I had outdone myself. For the remainder of the shoot, I continued to perform and received the majority of attention from both Little Little X and Mystical, as well as the full attention of the MTV camera crew and a reporter who came to film a documentary called When Sex Goes Pop. Once the camera crew and reporter caught a glimpse of my outrageous costume, all the attention and cameras were focused on me. At one point, the manager of singer Nivea, who was featured on the single, complained to the camera crew that his artist was the star and she was not being interviewed, yet I was. It was the testament to the old saying that sex sells. The rest of the shooting day and the following day went smoothly. By the end of it all, I knew that I had again created and sustained many enemies within the core group of girls who worked on many of the same videos as me. Most women on video shoots are professional women who are respected by top commercial agencies. As I have said before, it was rare for a principal model to talk to an artist, and many times they looked down on the artist. I was breaking all the rules as I converted with many of the artists that I worked with during and after shooting. It meant nothing that to me compared to the acceptance of men behind the production, because they were in a position to determine my fate, both professionally and financially. Little X seemed impressed and excited about my performance, and we instantly exchanged numbers on the first day of shooting. He and I would work together at least once after Danger, but X would play a far more important role in my life. Mystical was equally pleased and praised me for making his video hot. We spent those nights together while filming the video, and he made sure I was taken care of financially for looking out. I was making around $1,500 a day for a minimum of 2 days, but after the Danger video aired, along with the accompanying When Sex Goes Pop documentary, my rate nearly doubled. I had learned to play the game, and everywhere I turned, I was being rewarded for my devilish behavior. My life had definitely changed since I moved to Los Angeles, but little did I know there would be a big difference between living in Los Angeles and arriving in Hollywood.